So if I were to ask you the question, who approached who for the Stefon Diggs trade? Was it the Bills approaching the Vikings because the Bills wanted to get rid of Diggs, right? Or the Vikings, sorry, the Bills approaching the Texans, or was it the Texans approaching the Bills? And we are finding out now, I think I found this out last night, that it was the Texans who were the aggressors, and they went after Diggs. And it looks, now I'm not saying that they were targeting Diggs, I'm not saying that at all, but it looks like this was the hope in gaining a second or another second round pick. Was their hope was that they would be able to trade one of those 2 seconds that they got for the first round pick, that they were able to trade one of those in order to get another player, a ready-made player now. Everything the Texans are doing signifies that they realize they are in their championship window, Super Bowl window. Not that they're in there, we want to win the division window. They are in their championship window. So in this video, I want to do a couple of things. I want to re-talk about the trade with the Vikings and how they got the capital. I'll give the exact details on the Diggs trade, but then I want to talk about what the plan was from the beginning with them. And then, of course, we're going to go ahead and look at how Diggs fits into this team, because why wouldn't we? All right. And I haven't been able to do it because I've been gone on vacation. So down visiting family in Virginia. That was fun. But before I get into all that, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're a first-time watcher, watch to the end of the video. And then if you still like what we're doing, hit the subscribe button. Anyways, let's just talk about this. All right, so the Vikings and the Texans made a trade earlier where the Texans gave up pick 23 for the Vikings, and in return, they also gave up a 7th round pick. I want to make sure I'm saying that as well. And in return, they got a 2nd round pick this year. I think that's like pick 42, 41 overall, something like that. So it's a really good 2nd round pick, at least the 11th pick in the 2nd round. All right. And then they got a next year's 2nd round pick. And I don't know what Minnesota's going to do with quarterback. I don't know what they're going to be. They're in a really good division now in the NFC North. So that could be a top 10 in the 2nd round again next year. And they picked up around a 5th round this year. So for this year, they picked up a 2nd and a 5th, and then next year they get a 2nd, or a 2nd. Yep. All right. And then they gave up number 23 and a 7th. That's a good deal. But then you trade for Diggs, and the Bills will receive a 2025, so that next year's 2nd from Minnesota, the extra 2nd they got, and a 2024 6th. All right? And a 2025 5th. That's what they'll send over, in a 2025 5th round to Houston along with Diggs. So I'm reading this. It's confusing. I'll let you see it on the screen. All right, but here's basically what it means. Bills get a 2nd round pick. All right? Texans get Diggs, a 6th, and a 5th. Let's keep it simple. All right, I don't want to be confusing for you. All right, so I don't want to be confusing for you. But what they get is a player who's an all-pro caliber player to add to their team. And now, all of a sudden, when you look at that trade in its totality with the Vikings, we now have essentially traded the 23rd pick for a 2nd round pick, Stefon Diggs, a 5th, a 6th, a 5th, a 5th, and then another 5th and a 6th. So you trade, I think I'm getting this all right, but essentially you're trading away the 23rd overall pick. You get Diggs, a 2nd, 2 5ths, and a 6th. I think you win that trade. Don't you? Like, I know the wide receiver class is deep this year. I understand that. But don't you want a more experienced player that is going to be able to like show you and show that wide receiver room what's going on? Like, to me, that just makes a lot of sense, because I understand Robert Woods is here. I understand that, maybe, right? But like, when I look at this, if I see Tank Dell and I see Nico Collins, and I see John Mechie, my thought process is, okay, let's get a little. You got Noah Brown there, who's fantastic, and he was good last year. But think about it. If Noah Brown was that good, was C.J. Stroud. If Nico Collins was that good, was C.J. Stroud. If Tank Dell was that good, was C.J. Stroud. How good is Stefon Diggs going to be with C.J. Stroud? Now, is there a little bit of a concern with the attitude with Diggs? Yes. He wore out his welcome in 4 or 5 years in Minnesota, same in Buffalo, and that kind of started happening, but that's okay because you have him on a contract where, yes, you will have to pay him if you keep the current contract he is on, but at any point after this year, you can be like, all right, that's enough. We're done. And the experiment didn't work. If it doesn't go the right way, but it's going to go the right way. It's going to go the right way. And there are teams you can build in one of two ways. You can either build in the trenches on your offense and defensive line, or you can build on your skill positions on the outside. So for this exercise, let's just simply talk about skill positions on the offensive side. All right? I don't want to mess around with the defense right now because we're sitting here talking about the offense. All right? So you can either build on the line or you can build on the outside. So right now what the Texans have is Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Stefon Diggs, Joe Mixon, Dalton Schultz, and C.J. Stroud. When you talk about quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, when you talk about all-encompassing talent, is there a team that you can say right now, hands down, is better than that? Because I can't. And if you're sitting here telling me last offseason that the Texans are going to have what might be the most dynamic offense, the most explosive offense by talent before the year started, I don't think many people would have been like, oh, yeah, absolutely. No, we had hope for Tank Dell. We didn't really know what Nico Collins was going to be because there was injuries, but we knew he was mediocre before that. So this is a team that's decided we are going to build on those 5 or 6 position players, and then we are going to allow the offensive line to be good enough. And they think they have the pieces to make it work. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them in the second round, one of the second round picks, go for an offensive lineman. I wouldn't be surprised by that. And then you flip it over to the defensive side of things, and they're saying, all right, defensive line, we're going to put pressure on the quarterback with our defensive line. We have good run-stopping middle linebacker in Al-Shaair. You have a good pass coverage linebacker in Harris. Let's go. We have the pieces that are needed. You can shut down one side of the field with Stingley. This is a team that, no, I'm not saying they are complete. I'm not saying they're a complete team like you were looking at with maybe the 49ers, okay? Where it's just like, where is the weakness? I don't know. All right. Turns out the weakness is the Chiefs. But anyways, I'm not saying it's this totally complete team, but it's really close. And I love the addition of Diggs because it just brings a completely new dimension. And you look at a guy who, since entering the league, he hasn't had a PFF score below 78.4. I mean, he has been in the 80s, 78.3, right? He's been in the 90s once. All right, he has just been remarkable. And then you add that with a guy like Nico Collins, and that's just PFF scores. Don't even get me started on the stats, right? Don't even get me started on the stats. So the guy has been prolific. It's going to be really fun to see what he can do with Stroud and what this offense can be with so many weapons. All right, thanks for watching. Hope you like the channel. If you do, hit that subscribe button. Again, we wanted to start this channel because we wanted to do teams that the NFL, or the national media, I should say, kind of ignores. So we started this before the last season even started. We had another channel, Sports Talk Detroit, and we just kind of have a great love for NFL and some of these franchises. So unbiased view of your Texans. Make sure you like and subscribe. See ya.